Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Otsego City Council meeting. Tonight is Monday, July 27th. Audra, can you have the record show that our assistant attorney is here, our city planner, our city engineer, all council members are present, along with our city administrator. At this time, I'll ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item of business this evening is the open forum. This is the portion of the meeting where you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anyone like to speak?
Kathy Coles, 15613 90th Street Northeast. Here's this month's picture.
Dan?
Mayor, we will follow up again with the property owner.
They go out once a month,
Basically.
Great, thank you.
Right. Any other comments? Right, we will close the open forum and move on to consider our agenda for approval. Does anyone have anything that they would like to add or delete at this time? Adam? Oh, sorry.
I was going to do it for you.
Oh.
Madam Mayor, under the consent agenda, I would like to bring down item 3.3. Okay. We can make that 7.1. I would also like to add item 8.2, considering approval for a contract with Wright County Community Action, Inc. Thank you.
And 8.2, everyone would have gotten that at their last meeting. Yep, that one. Thank you. Any other changes? A motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, right.
I move to approve the agenda as amended. Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next item is our consent agenda. A motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, right.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended. Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next item is a public hearing. It's for an interim ordinance data center land use. I will turn this over to our city planner for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is on the agenda due to the increasing attention being given both at the local, statewide, and national level to development of data centers. This is an issue that has been around for a while. Data centers exist in many communities throughout the Twin Cities. There are none in Otsego currently, and we have no current applications or pending applications for any uses such as this, but it's the increasing demand and the scale of these facilities that is raising question and concern in other locations. Obviously, there are a number of issues that are related to data center development that are coming up that involve broader regional considerations such as ground or surface water resources, energy uses, things that if it's developed in Otsego or adjacent to Otsego is going to have an effect beyond municipal boundaries. For the most part, the city's regulations deal with time, place, manner development of specific land uses and the actual activity that occurs on a property. So the purpose of the public hearing tonight is to consider the need for a moratorium. The city is not deciding at this point whether to allow data centers or not within the city. But the process to establish the moratorium requires this public hearing to receive comments from the public, basically because things will change once this is in place as to what can come forward. So the process involves 10-day published notice within the Elk River Star News. That notice is also published on the city website. The city would also be required to provide written notice of the moratorium being considered to any potential applicants that may be working on projects. But again, we're not aware of any, so no such notice was provided. So the notice is published as consideration of adoption of an interim ordinance that would basically establish findings as to why a pause in development applications or development of data centers is necessary, and then directs the it would actually establish the moratorium and then direct the Planning Commission to lead a study of data centers as a land use and potential regulation of that activity within the city. So what is a moratorium? Basically, it's a pause. If the city adopts a moratorium, the city cannot receive an application for a data center. Any site that's been approved or is within the city can't proceed with developing their site, and also any construction or expansion of an existing data center cannot occur. That's authorized by Minnesota statutes. The purpose is basically to allow the city to not be under pressure from any type of pending application or a current application, to step back from very site-specific issues and look at the matter in a broader perspective as to implications to the city. Then it also gives the city the opportunity to develop regulations that would be appropriate to allow for these types of land uses and regulate them to address any potential negative effects. So that process can last for up to a year. There are provisions in the statute where the city can extend up to an additional 6 months if necessary to complete that work. But the expectation is that the city would proceed in a timely manner to wrap up its study and any ordinance amendments within that 1 year period. So the existing regulations for data centers within the city, and again, we're emphasizing no current or pending applications before the city at this time, but they are allowed as permitted uses within free zoning districts. What that means is basically they are allowed subject to the general performance standards of the zoning ordinance, such as lot requirements, setbacks, building materials, lighting standards, etc. There isn't any ability for the Planning Commission or the City Council to look at a specific requirement and say, you know, we're concerned about where this facility is, so we should increase the setback. It basically is a black and white matter as to this application meets the requirements stated in the ordinance, so it therefore must be approved. There are varying types of applications that the city has available to allow different uses under, including conditional uses, which does allow the city more discretion as to allowance for certain uses and the ability to establish conditions that a particular development may cause to a given area. The process today is basically that it would be a site and building plan review application before the Planning Commission and City Council. There is no public hearing component of the site and building plan review process. Environmental review, in terms of what the state establishes for mandatory categories, there isn't any specific category to data centers currently. That's an issue that the state needs to step in and weigh in on as to what would be an appropriate level of review. The important thing to understand is that even if the city were to require an environmental review of a data center request under a discretionary provision, it's not a basis of whether you approve or deny the request. It's really an information and communications process so that all the state agencies and any affected jurisdictions and the public has an opportunity to review in detail what's being proposed, what potential effects that may cause, and any measures that need to be taken to mitigate that. But through the site and building plan review process, again, this is Planning Commission recommendation to the City Council for a final decision based on the strict provisions of the ordinance. So the concerns generated by data center uses include potential effects related to energy use. This is one area of concern that's particularly problematic for cities because it's not within a city's purview to regulate, except under very limited statutory provisions granted by the state. Otherwise, things like environmental effects, the utility capacity of the current grid, utility rates, that's all handled at the state level by the Public Utilities Commission. The city can only really address transmission facilities within a certain capacity that cross through the city. So in terms of a data center proposal, what the city would be looking at is saying, okay, if this facility is going to be developed in Otsego, are there going to need to be transmission facilities that would be subject to its review that are also required to be developed, so that you're looking globally at that. Water usage is also a major concern when the water is used basically as part of the cooling system. Unless it's a closed loop system, it can be a significant water user. Obviously, that can be mitigated if it's basically an internalized system that recirculates and reuses the water as part of that. There's also emerging technology for alternatives to using water resources that avoid this issue. Noise is problematic from a land use compatibility standpoint. The cooling system fans generate a low frequency noise that's constant. There's also use of generators, diesel generators to supplement power from the utility grid that cause noise to surrounding properties, which would need to be addressed. And then more of a general requirement that the city would impose would be a lighting limit on the exterior illumination of these sites as part of their nighttime operations. So what the city would be looking at in terms of this land use study is evaluating those potential effects and then looking at standards within the zoning ordinance to address them to the extent possible if they are to be allowed. So you define the use, you'd establish which zoning districts the use is allowed in, and it can be one zoning district, it could be multiple zoning districts. You'd look at making it either a permitted conditional or interim use. And then performance standards such as minimum lot area requirements, setbacks from the perimeter of a lot. You can also have additional setbacks from residential uses that are greater than just the basic lot setbacks, so that you create physical separation between those. And then additional requirements as would pertain to building development standards, screening, lighting, noise, etc. That would all be kind of drafted and considered as part of the typical amendment process during the moratorium. There would also be criteria adopted as part of any ordinance that would allow for evaluation of data centers in terms of those potential impacts and whether they're complying with the standards that the city has adopted. You would also require specific information requirements for a data center request, such as utility infrastructure, capacity evaluations, demand on both electric, water, and any other city utilities, noise studies, both pre-development, post-development, and also the ability to have compliance checks going forward, and anything else that is necessary for the city to evaluate a specific proposal, its potential effects, and whether those have been mitigated by the construction that's proposed, or any additional conditions the city would need to add to any approval to ensure that there aren't any negative effects once the use is put in place. So city staff's recommendation is that the current allowance of data centers as permitted uses within 3 zoning districts doesn't reflect the reality of the scale of these facilities and those potential impacts, particularly with concerns related to land use compatibility and also city infrastructure and service capacity. Again, we're avoiding the utility issue from electric service standpoint because that's beyond the city's jurisdiction and purview. So our perspective is that the current zoning ordinance isn't adequate to address these potential impacts and needs to be reviewed and studied. And again, since there isn't any application before the city currently, and none pending that we're aware of, the time is now to put this moratorium in place and to step back and develop the regulations appropriate for this use going forward. The Planning Commission discussed this matter at their special meeting on July 6th. They had about an hour-and-a-half long discussion about it. They were strongly in support of establishing a moratorium and voted unanimously to recommend the City Council take that action. So city staff has drafted the necessary interim ordinance 2026-11 for your consideration. And again, we do recommend approval as presented.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we will open the public hearing. So if you would like to speak regarding this, you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anyone like to speak on this issue?
I'm gonna try to keep it to 5 minutes as much as possible. Thank you for recognizing the need to put a moratorium in place.
Can we get your name and address?
Mary Bartholomew, address 7589 Odell Lane, Northeast Otsego. I didn't think I'd be spending my nights and weekends reading and saving articles on people pushing back on data centers that are impacting resources and damaging the environment. But big tech companies are running at breakneck speed, and here we are. 70% of Americans don't want data centers, including me. My discussion will stick to what you are trying to accomplish and how it affects the quality of life of people in Otsego and expectations as regulations are put in place. A medium-sized data center can consume 300 to 500,000 gallons of fresh water a day, while larger facilities may use up to 5 million gallons per day. They're looking that could double by 2030. My question would be, how would you ensure if a data center consumes more water than projected? Who pays for the additional infrastructure as you spoke about? And if they are connected to the city water utilities, as it's in your planning meeting notes, will our water be safe? How will you ensure that during drought conditions or emergency water restrictions that residents will be given priority to fresh water? For power, I understand that's at a state level, as you noted. They can take as much power as 100,000 homes. Electric bills are going up around the country and requiring consumers to pay billions for big tech grid connections. NERC recently issued a level 3 alert warning that large loads with data systems pose immediate risk to grid reliability. And in recent news, you've probably heard 50,000 residents in Lake Tahoe were told that they need to find new power sources by May of 2027 because Nevada Utility looks to redirect their lines to data centers. The noise, pollution, and environmental impacts, the energy studies said that noise can reach up to 96 decibels 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Diesel generators used to run these facilities run at 85 to 100 dBA, and 85 decibels is considered dangerous to humans. The emissions from these generators are raising health concerns such as nausea, vomiting, insomnia, high blood pressure, and there's also downstream impacts. These companies are counting on us not to pay attention or push back. Data centers are showing up in communities using massive amounts of water and power and turning around and fighting every rule meant to protect the people that live there. They promise jobs and investments to get tax breaks and then push back on every oversight that keeps water safe and ratepayers protected. Why should taxpayers be funding private businesses for billionaires? Why should we be letting our community resources be handed over to out-of-state for-profit corporations that don't care about any of us? And here's a few examples. Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, stated trillions of dollars from American retirement savings could be used to finance construction of data centers and AI infrastructure. Jeff Bezos said that in order for AI to reach its full potential, certain resources must be allocated and prioritized for technology rather than human consumption. I can guarantee you either one of those will not run out of water or electricity. So my ask of this committee is, as you put these regulations in place, that you put requirements in for data centers that are based on verifiable data, public disclosures, public participation, as well as measurable community benefits rather than assumptions, confidential negotiations, or generalized perceptions of impacts. That community benefits agreements, transitional service agreements that will help prevent negative impacts on data centers and secure enforceable promises made by developers. No NDAs be signed by this panel or city leaders that restrict disclosures to the public of water demand, power demand, environmental impacts, tax incentives, locations, and infrastructure costs. Actual knowledge of the site equipment being used that will provide accurate water consumption and decibel levels. Setbacks and closed loop systems alone and the planning notes won't solve this. Remove any options for large hyperscale or data farms in Otsego. I was a little bit confused on the moratorium. I'm not going to lie, on sections 6 and 7 that appear to say it may not be a full year or that parts of the ordinance can be severable, which I didn't understand that piece. Residents need to be fully on board with what the requirements of the moratorium are. Is it a full year or can it be shorter than that? I heard you say it could be longer than that, but can it also be shorter? You know, people are exhausted from having to constantly hold leaders accountable in relentless pursuit of money and greed, which overshadows duties to serve the public. I'm counting on that I don't have to ask you to prioritize integrity and the welfare of the citizens of Otsego. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jonathan Heinrichs. I live at 14695 92nd Street Northeast in Otsego. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the map up here. That's Otsego. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that everybody here is a capitalist. And I don't know a single person who's going to say, I want to move to Otsego because they have a data center. No one ever is going to say that. Point number one, we care about our property values. This isn't going to help. So I really support this initiative to look at this very, very seriously. I look at the map and I see that we are responsible for a great deal of the Mississippi River, at least our side of it, and data centers require a whole lot of water. That's not good. And because of the way we structure our energy cost, because they can't separate their energy from our energy, it's over 90 degrees out there. Electricity is keeping us cool. The price that we're going to pay for electricity if we start pumping electricity into data center could be spectacular. And we are building a lot more homes in Otsego, right? So the billionaire beggars need you guys, all right? None of them live in that square. If you look at that map and you find a billionaire tech guy, you know, who's begging for your approval, right? We need to talk to him because that's not serving our community at all well. And if we're going to live a fact-based life, the idea of sitting down and analyzing exactly what the benefits are, because come on, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, none of us even talked about data centers. This is brand new. And when AI comes online, there will be no jobs. There's no reason to think that it will produce a single job. So they show up, they get our energy, they get our water, and they give us nothing. So I cannot imagine anything on the side that says we, the citizens of the city of Otsego, would do better having a data center here. And that's not even talking about the health benefits. That's just straight up dollars and cents. So I really support the initiative that I heard to step back, take a serious look at this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
I'm Patty Kessler, 10640 74th Street Northeast in Otsego. Basically, I was going to comment the same things he did. Number one, our property values are going down as it is. The more and more homes that are built around us causes more and more traffic. Nobody wants to come into an area where that is happening. If you build a data center, we're going to have the same issues. I don't know how many people they employ. My guess is it's not a lot, but what is it going to do to us? You know, all of the impacts. And my biggest question is if someone came in and applied for this and it was approved, what actual benefits would the city of Otsego receive that it would be worth our while? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Last time. Any other comments? Right, I will close the public hearing and bring it back up to council for discussion. Dan, there were a few questions brought to us by Mary, and then also Patty had a specific question. What benefit?
So, Mayor, all the speakers had excellent questions regarding what the benefits of data centers are to the city and what the implications of them are. That's the purpose of the moratorium, to study that, identify all those questions, evaluate from the city's perspective what the answer to those questions is, and then decide a path on moving forward. There were two questions specific to the action before the council tonight, specific to the ordinance. Section 6 addresses the term. Statute allows a moratorium to be in effect for 1 year. And again, the purpose is to allow the city to study the issue and make changes to its official controls. Once the city has decided on the official controls that need to be put in place, and those are adopted, the purpose for the moratorium no longer exists. So it expires with the effective date of that ordinance. The second, section 7, addressing severability. That's a standard provision in ordinances. It's in the city code that says if somebody sues the city over a specific point in an ordinance and a court upholds that as invalid, it doesn't invalidate the entire ordinance. So they get their judgment on the one section, but the remainder of it is still in place and still valid.
All right. Hopefully that answered your questions, Mary.
It does sound like it can be less than a year if the planning committee finishes their study. Correct.
Mayor, that's correct. If the study is completed, the ordinance amendments are drafted, the city council adopts it, it's published in the official paper, then the assumption is that everything is set up the way the city wants it, and then the moratorium is no longer necessary. So it would terminate in advance of a year if everything happens rapidly.
All right. Questions for council after hearing input this evening, or your own questions for staff? Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, just I guess a couple comments as I was listening to some of the statements made by residents, and thank you everyone for coming out. I know this is a strangely, I guess, bipartisan issue. This is an issue that I think a lot of people are concerned about. And I've watched a lot of city council meetings in other cities where it's been quite contentious. So it is nice that we are able to do this without having an active application in front of us, because it allows us to really consider what we want to do without the pressure of a developer breathing down our neck and telling us, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I guess my thoughts on what we heard and the issue that's before us, my biggest concern is that as a city, we're out of water. We are really at our capacity for water. In fact, we're paying fines because we're drawing too much water from the wells that we have. So if a data center were to come in, even if it had a closed loop system, I think we're asking for trouble in that scenario. Now, I will say that I still think it's possible for a data center to exist in Otsego on the west side, probably far away from any residential, kind of in our industrial area, as long as they can meet the standards of making sure we have enough water, making sure that it's not going to create a noise problem. And the noise issue is one that I think other cities have dealt with. And this is, I think, to the gentleman's point, developers are coming in and saying you can't measure noise a certain way, right? You can't measure it to the degree that it's causing, the steady hum. You can't measure that. So you can't regulate that. And I think the state law right now doesn't effectively address that. So I'm hoping that by the time we have some of these regulations in place, it will address that, because I think the decibel level is not really a concern for a lot of people, at least in the ones that I've seen. It's the constant hum that just causes people to go insane, basically. And what I've seen in the other cities that have had to deal with this, again, with active applications is kind of like what the gentleman was saying. Developers will fight every rule, and that's their right to do so. I don't want to give the impression that we're, a city that's not going to welcome new business, but it would be easier if the rules were nice and clear for them, I think. And that's why I think I ultimately do support a moratorium. Is I think we need to be clear on what those rules are, how we measure noise levels. I think we kind of have to wait for the state to fix some things in the laws. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't think a city council should ever sign a non-disclosure agreement. To be honest, I don't know how the cities have done that so far. We are public officials. Whatever we know should be public information for the most part. I mean, there's some rare exceptions, but I don't understand how non-disclosure agreements are in play. It makes no sense to me. I would never sign one as a public official. So I think if it's even possible to put that into our regulations, that has to be in there. I guess just in general, like I said, I'm going to support this moratorium. It's actually tough for me because I'm a person who does not like regulations. I'm not generally a fan of them, but I think that there are so many concerns when it comes to this stuff, particularly with noise and noise level and water usage, where it could exist in the city, the setback requirements. These are all, I think, very legitimate questions that we have to get an answer to. And I think it's probably going to take us a year to get there. But I guess in summary, I'm in support of this.
I would echo your comments. This, as you said, we're watching our neighboring cities deal with this, and they actually have applications. We have no applications, so we are in a different spot. I would say I'm disappointed at the state level that there hasn't been more work done on their part, because it shouldn't be city by city, because we're all taking water from the same area. So what we do in Otsego affects our neighbors downstream, just like people doing stuff north of us, it's going to affect us. I do have all the same concerns: noise, setbacks, water usage. You can see these developers saying, oh, it's a closed system and it's only going to use a little bit of water. Well, okay, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I thought a really good point that was brought up during the planning commission was talking about the noise when it's running on the system. Most of the research for the noise decibel levels have been when the plants or the data centers are running on the grid, not when they're running with the diesel generators. And that was specifically brought up by our planning commission members, saying if there is going to be some studies, they also wanted it to be when all the diesel generators were running for that facility, what would be the noise level? Because one generator's loud. Can you imagine how many hundreds they have? I don't even know the numbers, so I'm not going to speculate. So I really do appreciate that we are able to take a pause. I fully support that. I think that nobody wants to live next to these. And so even by saying the west side could potentially house it, where? Because somebody owns that property and there's probably a farmhouse. And so just making sure that we're looking at this long term. What decisions we make today affect our community, not just tomorrow, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So I fully support it also.
And I agree. I concur with both of you. I'm a little disappointed that there aren't more residents here, actually, speaking of this, because this is huge. And I would love this moratorium to go longer than a year. Everything that everyone said out here tonight was spot on, plus some other things that I won't get into. So I concur with everyone. Again, I'm just disappointed that there aren't more residents here supporting this moratorium and beyond. So that's my piece.
Yeah, and I appreciate everyone coming. I really do. It's definitely something that I've dealt with in the construction industry, is adding data centers into communities. And I've looked at them, and they usually don't move forward, the ones that I've worked on. So from a perspective of understanding the systems a little bit, there's a lot of options that they can consider. What are the good options that we can consider as a community, put restrictions on them? Because I think we are restricted as a city of what we can really do within the boundaries of our laws as a city within the state of Minnesota. So I'm curious to learn more about that, and I'm not versed in that as well as the construction side of things. There are things that we can add for provisions on the generators and dampening the noises and doing stuff and containment of that noise and boundaries and stuff like that. It drives the cost up for them. And I don't care about that. And it's those types of things that we definitely need to look at, talk about all those situations. The energy is a big one, and I don't know what we can and can't do about the energy because they're independent organizations. We can't control that, but what hopefully we can do is require certain amount of, sustainable energy, such as solar or something like that they have build this big building, and maybe we can add a requirement in there that 50% of their building energy comes from renewable energy sources such as solar or something like that. I don't know what we can really do, but those are the things that I would look at and try to add into our provisions to make it very difficult, make it very complicated, because we cannot tell them, no, you don't fit the requirement. What we can do is like, here's what we can do. Here's the slowdown. Here's the, you're not meeting this. You're not meeting this. You don't want to spend the money, too bad. Go away. Those are some of the things that we need to come up with for strategies and ideas and thoughts as a city to respond to the concerns. And it is a big concern. I'm concerned. I don't want my water contaminated. I don't want it hot. There are closed loop systems, but really, what does that mean? Long term, because you do have to purge the system. Where does that water go? You can't dump it here. Where are you going to dump it? You're going to have that controlled somewhere, but they have to default to the state requirements. If the state requirements aren't there, then what do we do as a city? What can we do? So, Corey?
Madam Mayor, I think obviously, I support the moratorium too. I think, as you said, and others, that, there's a larger need at the state level right now. I think with the number of cities that have, enacted moratoriums, even Wright County, I think, has a moratorium, and totally agree with Ms. Bartholomew, things that she said about you have to get an entire community behind something like this. You can't just push it out there. So I think it makes a lot of sense to enact this moratorium for us. I guess with that, I'd make a motion. Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-11, imposing a moratorium and authorizing the study of official controls for data centers.
Second.
Motion by Corey, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you all for attending for this matter. All right, moving on to planning. Jacob's Plat, second edition, the Endeavor Investments, LLC.
Thank you, Mayor. So this site is located it's east of Highway 101, east of Queens Avenue and south of 65th Street. It's currently developed with a industrial warehouse occupied by Blue Dot Furniture. The comprehensive plan guides the property for industrial land uses. It's zoned I-1 limited industrial district. The property was established by Plat in 2022. It's 20-acre lot and a 54-acre outlot. The final plat shifts the boundaries between the lot and the outlot. Surrounding the subject property include urban and rural single-family homes, urban homes to the south, mainly future to the east, rural homes to the north across 65th Street, and then there's existing and future industrial to the west and north of the site as well. So the preliminary plat to change the boundary between the lot and outlot was approved in May of this year, and the final plat still consists of one lot and one outlot. What's before you tonight is the approval of the final plat along with the development contract. The reason this isn't on the consent agenda, as would be typical, is there are a number of special assessments that are going along with this, including the city undertaking improvement of 65th Street as a public project to be paid for by the developer through an assessment. And then they've also requested assessment of the utility availability fees, which is a more typical request. The final plat itself, again, lot 1, block 1 meets all the requirements of lot width and area for the I-1 district. Outlot A is reserved for future development and includes a number of wetlands and things that will make that a more challenging parcel to develop in the future. 65th Street will be constructed along the north line of Lot 1, Block 1. This was an obligation of the developer at the time the initial plat was approved. But because the Blue Dot facility has been set up and will continue to operate with no access to 65th Street, the city deferred the construction until such time as the property was replatted, which is obviously now is the time that is occurring. City engineer has reviewed the stormwater management and utility plans for the proposed final plat and has given their approval. Easements within the plat are to be vacated and then replaced with the new final plat as per practice. Park dedication requirements are triggered by the replatting of the property, basically for the additional area being added to outlot or to lot 1, block 1, and that's provided for in the development contract. Which the city attorney's office drafted with specific provisions addressing both the public improvement project as well as the special assessments. Again, so the 65th Street improvement project, the subdivision ordinance does set up that the developer can request the city undertake the process as a public project. So construction would be anticipated to occur in 2027, improving approximately quarter mile of 65th Street extending east from Queens Avenue. All of the work would occur within existing right-of-way. The street would be constructed to a 46-foot wide paved section, concrete curb and gutter. There is planned for a 10-foot trail on the south side that will eventually connect to Randolph Avenue and out to County Road 42 in the future, connecting those residential areas to the southeast of the site to the overall system. The project includes constructing sewer and water and storm sewer facilities within the right-of-way as part of the street project that serve not only the subject property, but will serve future improvements west of Trunk Highway 101. The terms of the special assessment, again, it's a 10-year term at a 5.12% interest rate with payments starting, that should say payments starting in 2028 once construction of the street is completed. So with that, city staff is recommending approval of the application based on consistency with the comprehensive plan and compliance with the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance. We have 5 resolutions included in your packet to adopt all of these approvals for you this evening. So thanks.
Thank you. We'll do them one at a time, everyone. Does the developer wish to comment?
Hello, everyone. I don't have any additional comments. If there's any questions, happy to answer. Agree with the staff findings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, questions for staff or for the developer or?
Madam Mayor, I just have one question for Dan because I apologize I didn't send this ahead of time, but I am kind of curious, why do we have it in the special assessment that they can't appeal their valuation? Mayor?
Mm-hmm.
So the current valuation of the property is approximately $28.5 million. With the roadway improvement project, it would conceivably increase that to $30 million. So the city is providing financial assistance through the special assessment and essentially using its own money to build the improvement project while being repaid by the developer. So the city doesn't want to see its tax revenue used during the period of the assessment where it's providing the developer assistance.
But the special, I think I see what you're saying, but the special assessment itself wouldn't go down based on the value of the property. It's that their total tax bill you don't want to see it go down because essentially the city is funding a road improvement along their property.
Correct.
Okay. I get it.
Mayor, there's an opportunity cost involved that the city is using its reserves basically to finance
Cash
this
grant.
project for the developer's benefit. And even though it's collecting interest on that in accordance with its policy, it still has implications for the city's financing overall. So this is an additional guarantee benefit to the city that it's not going to see its property tax revenue generated by the property go below today's levels.
And that's for the 5-year.
That's for the 10 years of the
years, yeah.
special assessment, and then it would be for the 7-year special assessment on the SAC and WAC fees, which was also written with a deferral that they don't have to pay that until after the street project assessment is completed. So
Got you. Okay. Thank you.
What is the duration of the construction project?
Mayor, I'll ask the city engineer to.
Sorry.
Mayor,
Mhm.
so we would be designing it this winter and then bringing the plans and specs to the council probably around January, February time to have them approved so we can go out for bids. Then construction would start next summer and we'd have the road curb and guttered, asphalt by sometime in July or August. And then the second lift would go on the year after that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
And the mayor?
Yes, Ryan?
I move to adopt resolution 2026-56, vacating existing drainage and utility easements within the Jacobs Plat.
Is there a second? I will. Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion?
Mayor?
Yeah.
You can make one motion for all the resolutions.
Oh, I said.
Oh,
we
now
were
you
done
tell
with
us.
that.
I'll do 2 through 5 then too.
All right, so we're on one and we'll do two for, so we're on the first resolution. Was there any discussion on that item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan.
I move to adopt resolution 2026-57, approving the Jacobs Plat Second Edition Final Plat, subject to conditions as presented. Further resolution 2026-58, approving a development contract. Further resolution 2026-59, approving a special assessment agreement for 65th Street, and further resolution 2026-60, approving a special assessment agreement for utility availability charges.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to Public Works, item 6.1, our stormwater pollution prevention program. I will turn this over to our city engineer.
Thank you, Mayor. This is our annual stormwater pollution prevention program meeting. The MPCA requires us to hold one of these annually. So it's just mainly for informational purposes for the council and for residents. So we have the outfalls. Let's see. I should probably go back. Yeah, outfalls. And here the map of all the outfalls that go to DNR waterways. So that would be the Mississippi River, Otsego Creek, and the Crow River. And all those stars that are on there are outfall points that annually we inspect to make sure that they are free of any debris or any other issues that might occur at those. On the next slide, we have all the skimmers of all the storm ponds, and we inspect 1/4 of those every year. So we have this divided into 4 quadrants, and each of those little dots on there is a skimmer structure that outlets each of the storm ponds within the city. Next slide. Then we also, at that same time, we take a look at the storm ponds in each one of those quadrants. So 25% a year, you can see in that very southeast quadrant, example of all the storm ponds that are there, and make sure that they aren't filling up too much with debris or sediment. Next slide. And then we hand out these brochures to all the contractors that come into town, developers that come into town, so that they understand that they are under the requirements of this SWIP. Anything over 1 acre has to go through a SWIP process and have to have plans approved by the city. Even though some of these are 0.3 acres on an individual lot, it's because it's a larger development that covers 1+ acres, that individual lot is still under the same requirements as long as the development is occurring. Next page. And that this is the back side of that same brochure, showing all the different types of what we call best management practices to reduce the amount of sediment and contaminants that can enter our stormwater system and get to the wetlands or the creeks, rivers. Next slide. We also do a newsletter. And one of the requirements is to send out and do some public information. So that gets sent out annually, gives the residents information, where to pick up their pet waste, put it in the garbage can, motor oil to discard of that correctly. Even like lawn clippings such as that to be all taken care of properly. And if they do see some illicit discharge that they believe some gas or oil or something else is occurring that's leaking out of something, to give us a call and let us know so we can investigate that. Next slide. So with each of those inspections we do every year, then we make a map of all the concerns. So this is all the inspections that were done in 2025. And then the next slide coming down, we have you can click on those. They'll highlight if they have an issue. And then the Public Works Department knows to go out and then they can tell what they're looking for that needs to be fixed out there. And then they'll click on if it's completed or not so that we know these items have been taken care of on an annual basis. Next slide. So I think this is just showing the storm ponds and outlets. Those were the outlets on the other one. But again, each of these points, if you actually clicked on them, they would have, is there a tree in front of the flared end section or on the outlet? Or is there some broken piece of concrete within the catch basin or the skimmer structure that needs to be fixed? And then the staff knows to go out there and take care of that.
Ron, is this available on our website for people to go look at it?
Yes, we can put it on there. We'll have.
Just curious.
You're
Yeah.
talking about what items have been fixed and then.
Yeah, just you're talking about clicking on different things, or is that just staff?
It's Public Works.
Okay.
It is ones that have it. And I don't know if it's necessary for residents, but hopefully they understand that we're doing our due diligence to meet the MPCA requirements of reviewing these every year and then having the Public Works Department take care of them.
Sure. I was just trying to get an understanding of what you were talking about.
Sure. Next slide. I guess we're just going through the same slides here that are our storm pond outlet structures. But with that, we'll leave it to any questions I got from council or from residents.
All right. And this is our yearly water pollution prevention program, or stormwater. This is the time where we will take public comments regarding this also. So if anyone has any comments, you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anyone like to speak? I'll ask again for any public comments. All right, we will bring it back up to council for questions. There is no direct, there's no motions on this, so just.
No, we just have to hold an annual meeting. It's in the records that it was on this date, of course, with our agenda. and it's all that we provide for the MPCA on an annual basis.
And I was going to say, to piggyback to Corey's question, if residents do have concerns about any of their storm ponds or outlets, they can reach out to City Hall and
Yeah,
call
on
you
that
at any
one
time.
brochure, and also in the letter that, or the goes into the Otsego View,
Mhm.
there's a phone number and a contact name.
That does need to be updated.
We did
Notice that. The contact is wrong, but maybe we just move it to just contact City Hall and. Sure, come to the podium. Maybe you have a stormwater problem and Ron needs to fix it for you.
Patty Kessler, 10640 74th Street Northeast. I have a question. In our townhouse association, we have some wetlands that border our property, and we were told that this is owned and run by the DNR. We have problems with some of the trees that are in their wetlands falling onto our property, and we're forced to cut them down. Should we be taking this to the city, or who do we go to with issues like that?
Ron,
Is that part of your jurisdiction?
Well, we're looking at the storm waters and not the
Yeah, I
wetlands. So
understand, but
it's a little different. Some of these wetlands may be owned by private entities at this point, not owned within the city outlots. But if it is a city outlot, we can take a look at it. But typically, those are just wild areas that are not maintained.
Okay, so there's nobody to go to other than take care of it ourselves?
Mayor, I
Dan,
would say if you want to leave your contact information with the city clerk, we can follow up and see what the circumstances is with the outlot or
Okay.
with the wetland adjacent to your property and see who's responsible for that.
Okay, all right.
because obviously she said the concern is that the
Right.
tree is in the or in the wetland, but it's
In the
falling onto
fall.
their property. So now they're dealing with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that neighbor situation where if it's a neighbor's tree that goes down, but it goes down partly in your yard, you're still responsible for that portion that falls in your yard.
Mayor, there are all kinds of unique laws that pertain to trees,
Yeah.
tree branches and tree trunks and fallen trees.
Oh, yeah.
I think we
Trees go
can,
down.
we can help address questions. So.
Yes. Well, it's good that Patty got up and asked the question. So you guys,
Yep.
Patty, thank you for asking the question. They will follow up with you. Mhm. All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for your update, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to item 7.1, which is pulled from 3.3. Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before we move into discussion on this item, I would like to ask if any members of the council believe they have a financial or personal interest in this matter that might necessitate a disclosure and recusal.
No, I do not.
Well, Madam Mayor, given that the state law is clear, the mere existence of a conflict of interest would nullify any agreements the council made, regardless if they would have passed by majority vote. A recusal protects these proceedings in that regard. At our last meeting, the council members stated they would be recusing themselves. Since they will not be following through on that commitment, we as a council must. I move that the council finds that Councilmember Gady has a potential conflict of interest with respect to this agenda item to protect the integrity of the council's proceedings, preserve the validity of any action taken, and safeguard the public trust. I further move that the council member be requested to refrain from participating in discussion and voting on this matter, and that the minutes reflect the nature of the conflict and the member's non-participation.
Can I ask for a comment from the attorney on this?
Yes, Mayor. I know that this issue of conflict of interest came up in a previous council meeting, and looking at this issue, this item involves requests for payment of pay applications from contractors doing work on the fire department facility. In this context, for a conflict of interest to exist, it would have to be a situation where, say, Councilmember Gady was a party to the contract under which that work was done, or would have to be an employee or have some sort of ownership interest in those contractors receiving payment for that work under this contract. In this case, the council member as a part-time at-will employee of the fire department. She doesn't have any of those kind of personal beneficial interests in the payment under these contracts. So the position of the city attorney would be that this wouldn't amount to a conflict of interest requiring it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan?
I think that the council member in question is on the other side of the transaction. As a fire department employee, she has direct personal interest in the outcome of this decision because she benefits from the completion, layout, amenities, and equipment funded by this application. Residents could legitimately question whether the conflict created here means that the council member is representing her interests in the fire department. As a result, it's impossible to untangle those interests. And the proper course of action is to disclose the potential conflict and then recuse herself as she promised she would do. If anyone is still confused as to whether there is a potential conflict here, the test here is simple. If the agenda item were to fail, what would be the possible outcome? In this case, the non-payment would signal that the project has stopped and the council is exercising its right of non-appropriation for the fire station agreement with the EDA. This could potentially lose the council member her job. That's textbook conflict of interest. Her loyalties are divided by the question being posed to the council.
Again, I would just reiterate on that point of conflict of interest. You know, while she's affiliated as an employee, the way the law would view a conflict of interest in this situation would be that she would be deriving some sort of personal financial benefit from this item, which would, you know, and here the benefit, the financial benefit is going to the contractors. She doesn't have any legal relationship with those contractors. And as a result, under the law, this wouldn't be a conflict of interest.
Thank you. Any other comments? Otherwise, a motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan?
just a point of order. I made a motion and then there was a discussion. So that needs to go to a vote. Again, the motion was on.
There was no second, Ryan.
That's correct. There was no second, but you moved it into discussion. Discussing the merits of the motion, bring it before the assembly, and it must now be voted on. If you need the wording of my original motion, I have it for you.
I think at this point, it'd be appropriate to vote on it.
Vote on, Ryan, can you repeat what your motion is?
I can. I move that the council member finds that council member Gady has a potential conflict of interest with respect to this agenda item to protect the integrity of the council's proceedings, preserve the validity of any action taken, and safeguard the public trust. I further move that council member be requested to refrain from participating in discussion and voting on this matter, and that the minutes reflect the nature of the conflict and the member's non-participation.
So my question is to the attorney. So Ryan, because I moved it to discussion, by voting in favor of that, we would be supporting exactly what your motion said. And by voting against it, we would not be supporting that comment. Just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. Okay. Ryan has repeated the motion. Audra, do you have it in the record?
I can get the rest from the audio.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails to pass. Right, we have pay application number 19 that is in place.
Madam Mayor,
That's right.
I oppose this action because our city is able to receive excellent service from our existing contract providers at a price point that is cost efficient for the taxpayer. If approved, this action will increase the total cost of owning our own fire department to $22,595,728.47 so far.
Corey,
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve, pay application number 19 in the amount of $167,813.70 for work completed on the fire station.
Second.
motion by Corey, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat. All right, moving on to city council reports and updates. Our first item is heritage preservation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Otsego Heritage and Preservation Commission will meet on August 19th. At our last meeting, we were discussing new ideas for the Prairie Festival. A lot of good ideas coming, so we're excited.
Next is Park and Rec. Michelle?
Yes, the next Parks and Rec meeting should have been, I believe. It's canceled for this next month. I think it was supposed to be on the 11th, if I remember correctly. That's been canceled due to lack of topics to talk about. What recently was covered and approved was moving forward with a design for the Prairie Park Phase 1.
Thank you. Thank you. Next is Planning Commission. Ryan?
Madam Mayor, the commission recommended approval of the Hempel Properties outdoor storage permit that the council approved earlier tonight. The August 3rd meeting is canceled, so the next meeting is scheduled for August 17th.
Thank you. Next is Public Safety. Tina?
I don't want to steal Chief's thunder, so I'll just keep it real short here. We had some internal discussions in regards to ambulance service and such, so we're gonna kind of dig into that a little bit more, invite an external individual and have a conversation, hopefully August 18th or around that time frame. So I'm gonna let Chief discuss the rest.
Thank you. We still are under city council reports and updates. Does anyone else have anything? All right, moving on to under staff reports and updates, item 8.1 is to consider scheduling a special city council meeting at 5:30 on August 10th and August 24th.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Mayor, Council, both these would be for purpose of budget review during the month of August. As a reminder, the city needs to adopt a preliminary levy by the end of September. So usually August is a budget review heavy month. Both of those nights are normal council evenings, so this would be 5:30 leading up to 7 o'clock regular meeting.
That work for everyone? All right.
Yep.
Then I will.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. Corey made I'll second it. Motion by Corey, seconded by Jessica to call the special meetings, which will happen right before regular city council meetings. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next item was item 8.2. This is regarding working with Wright County Community Action. Adam?
Okay, Mayor, Council, thank you. This item was added tonight. Some background information. The city has received statewide affordable housing aid money for the last few years. This money has time constraints and use constraints set forth by the Minnesota legislature. Most recently discussed at the February 2026 EDA meeting, staff presented some options that have been under discussion with Wright County. We took that feedback and continue those discussions with Wright County and some of the larger cities in the county as well. So what we've come up with is a proposed agreement with Wright County Community Action. Under this agreement with the city of Otsego, the city of St. Michael, and Wright County, WCCA would provide housing stability resources to Otsego residents looking to either stay in their homes or be able to find other housing within our own community. The funding is again from the state. The allotment under this agreement is $52,757. So this represents our first year of housing aid from the state. It does cap at that $52,000. under this agreement. There's also verbiage in there about if that funding is no longer available, that the city can pull out of this agreement for those reasons. Again, so WCCA is setting up this program. They're providing housing research assistance, case management, financial training to those people, employment opportunity support, and declining rental subsidy. So the program is set up at the beginning of subsidy. They are provided with 100% funding for their housing identified through the program. And then by the time that 12-month duration is over, that the homeowner or the person involved in the program is able to fully pay that on their own through some of the other resources provided under this agreement. City staff has run this through the city attorney. The Wright County Board is expected to take action this week, as is the city of St. Michael on this program. So in the packet, there is a purchase of service contract with Wright County Community Action. It has gone through the city attorney's office. We did send comments back and forth to Wright County, and those changes have been made and accepted by their legal team. The action tonight would be to approve a purchase of service contract with this group, and I can answer any questions.
I had contacted Adam earlier today. I just had questions about, if there's not someone in Otsego, where does it go? Questions like that. Obviously, I think we all were hopeful that there would be some level of partnership that we could figure out with the county to use these dollars, since it came to the city and we didn't really know how we were going to manage that also. So I'm happy to see something in place. Correct me if I'm wrong, was there another city involved? And if so, because it's just this is between St. Michael, Otsego, and the county, was there another city involved in Wright County? And if so, what are they doing with their funds, since it's only between the two cities?
Mayor, council, the 4 cities that received funding through the state program were, you had to be in excess of 10,000 in population. So that included Otsego, St. Michael, Monticello, and Buffalo.
Okay.
The other cities and township money ultimately ended up in the county's pool, and that's why they're also participating in this program. As you noted, St. Michael and Otsego are parties to this agreement. Monticello and Buffalo have developed their own internal programs. I don't have specifics on exactly what those are, but they're handling that internally, at least for now.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just to reiterate the discussion we had kind of at the EDA, this is not property tax money. It's money that we get from the state, and it's kind of a small amount relative to what we need it for. So if we were just to hold on to this money, first of all, the clock runs out and we no longer get it. But second, it would just all get eaten up in admin costs and administrative, trying to administer some brand new function. So it makes sense for us to pull this money with Wright County and with another city to just make it more effective. So I'm in support of it.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, a motion would be in order.
And Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Yes, Tina.
Motion to approve a purchase of services contract between Wright County Community Action, Inc., Wright County, and the city of St. Michael.
Second.
Motion by Tina, seconded by Corey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mayor, council, the city will be receiving ongoing updates from WCCA on this, and we can report back to the council on how the program is going and residents that we're able to help in our community. If we find this successful, we can certainly renew this agreement with some of the additional years of funding. As Councilmember Dunlap said, total funding received to date is $155,000. So for the city to be able to stand up its own program, hire staff, administer that in terms of the guidelines set by the state, it would be very, very difficult for us to do that in a small community. So,
and this agreement is only using the first set of money. So there is.
Correct. This is the 2023 aid allotment.
Correct. So. Okay. Thank you. All right. We are still under city council reports and updates. Adam.
Mayor, council, no further updates for me. Thank you.
Audra.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just to remind everybody, candidate filing closes tomorrow, Tuesday, July 28th at 5 p.m. And if any candidates want to withdraw, they have till Thursday at 5. And if anybody's interested who has applied, it is available on the Secretary of State's website. And last thing I had is early voting did start on Friday. So if anybody wants to vote for the primary election, they can come to City Hall during office hours, Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday, the day before elections, we will be there from 9 to 3.
Thank you. Great. Richard,
Nothing for me.
Dan,
Mayor, nothing further.
Ron,
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything.
okay. Chief McCoy,
Good evening, Mayor, members. We continue to work on the station, getting items off our list with the contractors, working with Wold and Kraus Anderson to get that finished. Councilmember Gady brought up an item that was talked about at length during the Public Safety Commission meeting. Chief Scott's taken the lead on that, and he's reached out to the outside parties to try to schedule a meeting with that. So, and it really has to do with topic of conversation that's been around for a while, and that's ambulance service in the city of Otsego. So, we have received quite a few phone calls on the grass that's we're trying to follow city ordinance on and keep alive on the odd even watering schedule. So I know that we're working with our Park and Rec department to green that up and get that looking good again. So other than that, we continue to plug away. So any questions?
isn't there a provision if it's new sod?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've read that before.
We get 30 days, don't we? So
But
we
they
want to be good neighbors and we want to follow the rules as well. So I think we're past our 30 days now, but we'll get her there.
Pete's not helping anybody's yard.
No, it is not.
Okay. Anyone have any questions for the chief?
Do we have all the equipment or where are we at with that?
So all the trucks are there. We're working on equipment. So we did get some things in last week. So it's always slow, and then it'll all show up in bunches. So, yep, we're gaining.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you.
How's our fire marshal working out so far?
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you'd be surprised the number of items that come in regarding the fire code, and it's nice just to be able to email him. It's stuff that Jason would have taken care of in addition to myself, and so he's freeing up Jason's time, he's freeing up my time.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Sergeant Altmans. You got to teach Chief McCoy how to raise the podium for himself too.
We have 2 more presets here, so we got all sorts of stuff. My formal apologies to the community of Otsego. I was asked for sheriff stickers 4 times today, and I had to decline each one because I didn't have any. So I'm feeling pretty rough on the community policing side of things today. So
you have baseball cards?
Yeah, do you got someone you can give them?
I would love to have like my own like baseball card of like me on there.
We can make that.
That would be pretty sweet.
We need some pictures.
Yeah.
Couldn't play sports for anything, and so I never got to be shortstop with the Minnesota Twins. So I got to take my sergeant card.
I can see Greg Gagne and you.
That's exactly right. You have to use a older baseball player.
That's my era.
Are baseball cards even a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Anymore? I mean, I would say
Yeah,
it's more of like a Pokemon card.
Yeah.
And here's my special power.
Pokemon cards, and then it gets stolen. So, but yeah. Okay, busy. I keep reiterating, like there seems to be a very strong correlation as far as the time I've been a cop, where when the temperature is hot, it is absolutely a correlation between call load and the temperature.
you can imagine all the different things. I mean, certainly whether it's just people get more irritable when it's this hot out, certainly the medical side of things is absolutely really straining on the EMS system when we're having to fly over heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and then every call that you go to, the heat just adds to the problem in general, even if it is heat related. We had that. We had the county fair at the same time. So we had a lot of deputies in reserve now at the county fair that really had to literally sweat it out. We had a number of them down there. I went down there for like an hour. I used to do that as an explorer back in the day, parking cars out in the parking lot or directing traffic out in the parking lot for 16 hours and I wouldn't get paid for that. What the heck? I was 15, so I was just like, whatever. But so a lot more work out there at the county fair, same thing. They had a ton of medicals and a lot of people out there. So certainly otherwise, really, I wish I could get into specifics on a couple cases, but really can't at this point. So like I said, busy, time constraining, and labor intensive things that are kind of going on. I know we have a number of trials that are active right now that involve a couple of our Otsego deputies, or we're having to go testify and then come back up here or wait in court. And jury trials are kind of a long, drawn-out process. If anybody's had to do jury duty, that when you're sitting on the other side of it trying to be one of the witnesses, that you get kind of stuck in the courthouse sitting in the waiting room for hours on end. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, probably the entire day into Wednesday. So other than that, questions for me? Otherwise, just hey, we're busy. Sorry, I don't have specifics.
Anyone have anything?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, did you mention that you had hired 5 new deputies?
Yes.
Okay, how are they doing?
Yeah, really good. I just had another, just met, I think, the final one of the 5 today. So I had to watch myself on not being complete smart aleck with him because he showed up on a medical and he only had one medical glove to put on, and he went, oh crap, and looked at the other one. I was like, oh, interesting. Not a good start, man. So he was literally, so we had a medical at O'Reilly's Item Parts and in Monticello. And so he was literally going to go buy a box of gloves that were at O'Reilly's. Like, oh my God, he felt so bad. He's like, I'll just buy one. I'm like, hold on, we can go find you some. One of those things. So you make sure you check your stuff.
Yeah.
So
He's never going to forget now.
No,
And he can watch the recording back and see that you talked about it.
teachable moments.
and then make sure his trainer gets the YouTube link. So, Jack, remember your gloves.
All right. Does anyone else have anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
All right. If no one else has anything, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Tina, seconded by Michelle. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The meeting is ended. Thank you all for attending this evening.